SLT Mobitel, the connection.
මෙම විශේෂ සන්ලයිට් නිෂ්පාදන මිලදීගෙන ශ්‍රී ලාංකේය මනුදම්වියමන අපි සවිමත් කරමු. සන්ලයිට් කෙයා.
Tonight, navigating uncharted waters, the country enters another 3 days of island-wide travel restriction as medical experts continue calls for an extension.
3-day lockdowns are going to have minimal effect. We are in urgent need of a circuit breaker.
Double concern. The black fungus found in COVID patients in India, found within Sri Lankan shores. Weather concerns. Heavy deluge expected in the island in the coming week.
We can expect heavy rainfall above 100 millimeter and strong winds, especially over the southwestern quarter.
3-match series in Dhaka. Sri Lanka team led by a rookie captain to lock horns with Bangladesh tomorrow. All that and much more coming up on First at 9. This Saturday, the 22nd of May, 2021.
From AdaDerana, this is AdaDerana First at 9. Live from Studio 24 in Colombo.
Good evening and welcome to First at 9. I'm Dhammike Kanaya. Now, the government today changed the protocol with regard to the window of a free movement set to come into effect on the 25th and the 28th of this month. Though the national identity card system was to be observed, the change means that only one person from one household will be allowed to venture out to obtain essential goods.
Another full-blown island-wide travel restriction came into effect last night, and it will run until 4 a.m. on Tuesday the 25th. As things stand, movement restriction, however, will be reimposed on the same day at 11 p.m. and will be in place until 4 a.m. on Friday the 28th. But the government made a decision today to limit the movements during the windows provided from 4 a.m. to 11 p.m. on Tuesday the 25th and Friday the 28th. Though it was initially planned to give freedom of movement based on the national identity card system on those 2 days, it is now decided that only one member from a household will be permitted out. Meanwhile, several medical associations in Sri Lanka are not happy with a window of free movement being provided, as they called for an extension of the restrictions for at least 14 consecutive days, urging to abandon the plan to give a window of movement on Tuesday. They added that lifting the restrictions on Tuesday will cost the country the gains it made so far. But it seems that there is a communication issue between these medical associations and the authorities who make the decisions.
මේ ආකාරයෙන් ජනතාව ඉදිරියට වෙලා කතා කරන අයවලුන් බොහෝමයක් මේ කාර්ය සාධක බලකායෙත් සහභාගී වෙන රැස්වීම් වලට. ඔය කියන යෝජනාවන් ඒ ස්ථානයේදී පැමිණෙන්නේ නැති එක අපිටත් යම් කිසි ආකාරයක ප්‍රශ්නයක්. දැන් ඊයේ ජනාධිපතිතුමාගේ රැස්වීමේදී ප්‍රතිකාරක නොගත්ත දෙයක් සවස ඔබගේ ප්‍රවෘත්ති වලින් අපිත් ඇහෙනවා. ජනාධිපතිතුමා මොකයි මට කියන්නේ නැතුව ගිහිල්ලා එළිය කියන්නේ එළිය කිව්වා කියලා මොනවද කරන්න පුළුවන් මෙතනදී කතා නොකර කියලා.
With all these rumblings, members of the public are curious and are uncertain as to what the future conduct on restrictions would be. The question occupying the people's minds is that will there or won't there be continuous travel restrictions covering the entire island? On that, the chief of the National Operations Centre for the Prevention of COVID-19 had this to say.
ජනාධිපතිතුමා කිව්වා අපි 25 විතර වෙද්දී නැවත සාකච්ඡාවලදී තීරණය කරගන්න පුළුවන් තවදුරටත් මේ සංචාරන සීමාවන් දීර්ඝ කරනවාද කියන එක කවුරුත් එපා නැහැ බෑ කියලා කිසිම කතාවක් නැහැ. අපිට තීරණය කරන්න පුළුවන් ඊළඟ සතියාන්තයත් මේ ආකාරයෙන් සංචාරන සීමා පනවනවද? එතනින් එහාට තවදුරටත් තව දින කිහිපයක් වැඩි කරන්න ඕන නම් ඒකත් අපිට සලකලා බලන්න පුළුවන් ඉදිරි සාකච්ඡාවලදී කියන කාරණා.
These restrictions, however, will not apply for essential service providers. However, the police continue to thoroughly scrutinize their movements. In the meantime, with the setting up of police checkpoints and roadblock across the island, the police were able to prevent attempts of unauthorized travel throughout the day. One such attempt involved a motorbike transporting heroin under the guise of a delivery service.
Within a period of last 24 hours, we have arrested 423 suspects in connection with the offences of quarantine rules and regulations, face mask and social distancing. Total number of 11,743 suspects have been arrested in connection with the same offences. 65 persons have been arrested in Kandy area, and in addition to that, 98 lawbreakers have been arrested in Matale area. In addition to that, a special operation has been conducted in Western Province in respect of supermarkets, Satosa and wholesale shops, Satipola and other institutions. 6,500 institutions have been checked and inspected by the police officers along with health officials. Today, we have deployed 22,000 police officers across the country in order to implement quarantine rules and regulations.
Meanwhile, in a backdrop where travel is only permitted for essential service providers and issuance of travel permits have been clearly prohibited, Putlam District Old Ceylon Makal Congress parliamentarian Ali Sabri Rahim, who voted for the Port City Commission Bill, has issued a special travel permit under his letterhead. On a separate note, the Ministry of Finance has approved a grace period for members of the public who were unable to pay their traffic fines due to the pandemic situation in the country. Postmaster General Ranjit Aryaratna said that traffic fines issued from the 5th of April will be given a concessionary period until further notice. What's more, the Paliagoda Fish Market was open for wholesale business today in line with strict health and safety guidelines. State Minister of Multi-Day Fishing Activities and Fish Exports Kanchana Wijesekara also inspected the activities at the market today. During the inspection, he stated that even though retailers are kept from opening their shops, mobile vendors can obtain a permit from their divisional secretaries to do business.
කාලගුණය කොහොමුණත් රයිනෝ නං වාලට සේෆ් තමයි මුළු ගෙදරම.
Meanwhile, looking from afar, head of the Department of Virology at the University of Hong Kong, Professor Malik is of the view that the government's present methodology in restricting travel is not effective. Addressing a webinar organised by the Organisation of Professional Associations on Wednesday, Professor Malik gave a detailed analysis on why a 3-day lockdown is ineffective.
You have seen some of the interventions that have been put into place. For example, limiting travel between provinces. You can see that now cases are present in every province in the country. You can see that in most provinces, there is dramatic increase. Stopping people moving from one province to another is not really going to reduce transmission at this stage. Maybe if it had been introduced back in the middle of April, it might have had an impact, but not now. Then, of course, there is talk of lockdown. What is achieved with a lockdown is that you compartmentalize these people into households. So let us say this person is infected. As long as it is confined to one household, the virus has no chance of spreading further. Once the virus runs out of people to infect, it burns out, it dies, because it cannot survive hanging around in thin air for days and days. So how long does this lockdown have to be? So there is a science to this. So let us say this person was infectious at the beginning of a lockdown period. Now we know that the period of infectiousness of an individual is 5 to 7 days. So if this person is infectious at the beginning of a 3-day lockdown, he will remain infectious at the end of the 3-day lockdown. He'll be out in the community on the 4th day and the 5th day. Then there's another issue. That's the incubation period, meaning from the time you get infected to the time you develop symptoms and become infectious. And that, the median is about 5 days. So let us imagine this person in the household was infected. He may transmit to other members. And this interval on average would be around 5 days. So these people might get infected. Now they have to now become non-infectious. 5 days plus another 5 to 7 days, 12, 13, 14 days. So this is why 3-day lockdowns are going to have minimal effect. From everything I hear, the health system is at a breaking point in terms of the clinical staff, nursing staff, the PHIs. Everybody is exhausted and at breaking point, probably beyond breaking point. So we, I think, are at a tipping point in this whole situation. So we are in urgent need of a circuit breaker to rapidly contain transmission so that the health system can take its breath, literally speaking.
Now, the black fungus, a rare infection which is known to cause many painful symptoms that affect the eyes, the nose and sometimes the brain, has reportedly spread widely across India, predominantly in COVID-19 patients. What's more concerning is that that particular black fungus is now found from Ampara.
For a third consecutive day, the country's overall daily COVID-19 infections were reported in the excess of 3,000 yesterday. According to the epidemiology unit, 3,547 COVID-19 infections were confirmed in the country. The Colombo district once again topped the list with 800 cases, while Gampa confirmed 617 infections. 297 cases of the virus were reported from Kurunegala, 280 from Kaluthara and 278 from Galle. Meanwhile, the districts of Kandy, Mathale and Mathara reported 172, 118 and 109 new infections respectively. A further 867 infections were reported across 17 other districts. 9 imported cases were also included in yesterday's daily COVID-19 count. As for today, 2,145 new COVID-19 infections have been reported so far. In the meantime, Deputy Director General of Education and Research at the Ministry of Health, Dr. Hemantha Herath, today defended concerns raised over the efficiency of the epidemiology unit in dealing with the pandemic.
Compared to many other countries, we have achieved much more results, and main contributor for this success was the epidemiological unit. They were the people who were ready to face the initial phase of the epidemic and to provide the necessary guidance to the health ministry and all other stakeholders, and managing the epidemiological aspects of the epidemic. And collection of data was carried out initially with the limited number of staff available, but gradually the number increased and the amount of data collected and stored and analyzed in that unit increased, and that reflects in the website of the epidemiological unit, where initially we had very small amount of information, but nowadays we can see that many new information, new analysis is being done, and these are available on a daily basis, weekly basis in the website. And also sometimes people are expecting certain information on a daily basis, which is not practical. For example, the daily death analysis is not realistic because certain deaths are confirmed few days later, and as a result the Ministry of Health and the epidemiological unit is still giving the same analysis on a weekly basis.
Meanwhile, Dr. Herath also explained as to why certain information isn't published and made readily available to the public.
There can be certain information that is either not available in the epidemiological unit or not readily available in the epidemiological unit, because certain specific information, even though the information is collected, unless there is a specific need for the decision making, sometimes all this information is not analyzed, processed and taken into specific platform. Basically, at a given moment, it is important to identify the vital information for decision making. So, if somebody is requesting some information that was not routinely used for decision making, sometimes it will take little time to get this information. So, that is the reason why most of the time certain information is not available on time. But if somebody needs any information, please contact the epidemiology unit or the Ministry of Health. We will do our best to provide that information.
In the meantime, the rare black fungus, also known as mucormycosis, has been widely reported in many states in India, predominantly in COVID-19 patients. It now transpires that a similar case is found on Sri Lanka's soil, with a patient diagnosed with black fungus from Ampara.
ඉන්දියාවේ ලැබෙන තොරතුරු ඉතාමත්ම භයානකයි. මොකද දිලීරය හරහා මේ රෝගී භාවය නැත මේ රෝගී තත්ත්වය උත්සන්න වීමට ඒ වගේම මරණ සංඛ්‍යාව වැඩි වීමට හේතු වෙලා තියෙනවා. කොවිඩ් වෛරස් එකත් සමග කොයි ආකාරයෙන්ද සම්බන්ධ වුණේ කියන එක මේ වෙනකොට ඔවුන් සොයා බලමින් පවතිනවා. ඒ සම්බන්ධයෙන් පරීක්ෂණ කරමින් පවතිනවා. ඉතින් අම්පාර ප්‍රදේශයට ඒක කොයි ආකාරයෙන්ද ගියේ කියන එක තාමත් ගැටලු සහගතයි.
In other developments, State Minister of Primary Healthcare, Epidemics and COVID Disease Control, Dr. Sudarshini Fernandopulle, sent a letter to the Consul General of Sri Lanka in Australia, Lakshman Hulugalle, requesting to be provided with medical equipment necessary for providing oxygen. A list of about 2,500 medical equipment, including oxygen machines, which the letter says are currently in short supply at hospitals in the northern, eastern, Kegalle and Gampa districts, have been requested. In other developments, the second dose of the AstraZeneca vaccine was given to 6,497 people yesterday. The total number of people who received the second dose of the vaccine is now 320,196. Meanwhile, the Ministry of Health stated that 16,120 were given the first jab of the Sinopharm vaccine yesterday. A total of 501,493 people have received the Sinopharm vaccine so far. Meanwhile, Sri Lanka reported 44 COVID-19 related deaths yesterday, making it the highest reported daily count so far. According to the Department of Government Information, 23 victims were over 71 years of age. 11 victims were in the age group of 61 to 70 years, and 7 were aged between 51 and 60 years. 2 victims were 40 years old, with 1 victim being a 22-year-old. COVID pneumonia and complications from chronic diseases such as diabetes and heart disease have been recorded as a common cause of death. In the meantime, a total of 1,635 COVID-19 patients were confirmed to have recovered from the novel coronavirus today. That brings Sri Lanka's overall recoveries to 126,995. The island also has 32,351 active COVID-19 cases.
Secretary-General of Parliament says that the vote on the Port City Economic Commission bill will be re-examined amid claims from the Sri Lanka Podujana Peramuna that the special majority the bill garnered was not depicted correctly. What's more, MP Rishad Badidin's All Ceylon Makkal Congress has decided to suspend 2 of its parliamentarians who voted in favour of the bill.
The All Ceylon Makkal Congress has decided to suspend the party membership of 2 of its members who voted in favour for the Port City Economic Commission bill on Thursday. The party led by MP Rishad Badiuddin is accordingly set to suspend Anuradhapura District MP Ishaq Rahman and Puttalam District Parliamentarian Ali Sabri Rahim. In the meantime, the Secretary-General of the Parliament says that the vote on the Port City Economic Commission bill will be revisited to ascertain whether there had been a fault in the process. It comes at the heels of the Sri Lanka Podujana Peramuna claiming yesterday that the special majority received for the bill was erroneously depicted and that the party would call for a probe into the matter from the Speaker. The Secretary-General of Parliament added that the Speaker has instructed to launch an investigation to ascertain whether a technical fault or another manner of fault had occurred during the vote on the Port City Economic Commission bill.
Chairperson of the Marine Environment Protection Authority, Attorney at Law Darshani Lahandapura today revealed that combustible items placed on a nitric acid container may have led to the fire aboard the cargo vessel Express Pearl. After inspecting the stricken vessel last night, the parties concerned have been told to take remedial measures to prevent a possible oil spill.
On Thursday, a fire broke out on board the cargo vessel Express Pearl, anchored 9.5 nautical miles away from the Colombo port. Upon hearing of this, the Sri Lanka Navy dispatched 2 offshore patrol vessels and a fast attack craft to extinguish the fire on board the vessel, which was transporting nitric acid and other chemicals during the time. Prompt actions by Sri Lanka Navy brought the situation under control. Upon an inquiry from First at 9 Chairperson of the Marine Environment Protection Authority, Attorney at Law Darshani Lahandapura gave an update on the situation, including the factors which may have led to the fire.
We conducted a visual inspection yesterday morning. We were able to actually go very close to the vessel to ascertain the root cause based on our visual inspection and also with the information that we received from the local shipping agent. It was evident that there was a leak in one of the containers which contained nitric acid. When water got contacted with the nitric acid, it emits yellowish brownish color nitric dioxide and also oxygen. So this is actually a bit of a toxic fume. With this only, the entire incident has happened. But based on our visual inspection, we instructed the insurer, the captain as well as the local shipping agent and the local representative of PNI Trust to take immediate actions to control and extinguish the fire on board and to reduce toxic emissions, and also to take remedial measures to avoid potential chemical and oil spill in Sri Lankan waters. Suppose the situation goes beyond out of control, then we have instructed them to tow away the vessel away from the Sri Lankan waters. Our actually observation yesterday was this container which contains nitric acid was laid, and then on top of that they have kept several other containers, and the topmost container contains lube oil. So I think it ignited the fire, I suppose.
The Department of Meteorology puts the rains felt across the island down to the southwest monsoon slowly establishing itself. It says that once the monsoon is completely established over the country by the 26th, heavy showers over 100 millimeters can be expected.
The Department of Meteorology announced today that a low-pressure area has formed in the North Andaman and northeastern Bay of Bengal.
A low pressure area has formed over the east central Bay of Bengal today,
and it is likely to intensify into a depression by tomorrow and then subsequently intensify into a cyclonic storm and move towards West Bengal by 26. With the formation of this low pressure area, we expect that southwesterly wind flow will be gradually established over Sri Lanka and it will be fully established by 26 May.
In the meantime, the Department of Meteorology also stated today that the country will see heavy rainfall above 100 millimeters in the next week as the southwest monsoon establishes itself over the island. It added that nearly 100 millimeters of rainfall can be expected at some places in the western and Sabaragamu provinces and in the Galle and Mathura districts.
The prevailing showery condition is because of the gradual establishment of monsoon flow over Sri Lanka. We expect monsoon flow will be fully established by 25th-26th May. So during that fully establishment, we can expect heavy rainfall above 100 millimeter and strong winds, especially over the southwestern quarter. In terms of provinces, it will cover western Sabaragamu, central province, as well as Galle and Mathura district. And we expect some moderate showers also over Puttalam district also.
We will see you once more on the other side of this break. Stay with us. Welcome back. This is First at 9. Now, headline inflation had increased to 5.5% in April 2021 from 5.1% in March. The central bank says that this is mainly due to the statistical effect of low base prevailed in April 2020. Meanwhile, food inflation increased to 9.7% in April 2021 from 8.8% in March. Non-food inflation, meanwhile, increased to 2.2% in April from 2% in March. The National Consumer Price Index, measured on an annual average basis, remained unchanged at 5.3% in April 2021. In the meantime, the monthly change of NCPI has recorded a marginal increase in April 2021. The central bank puts this down to price increases observed in items of both food and non-food categories. Within the food category, increases were mainly observed in the prices of coconut oil, fresh fish and fresh fruits during April 2021. However, prices of coconut and vegetables recorded a decrease during the month. Moreover, prices of items in the non-food category recorded an increase during the month due to price increases observed in the clothing and footwear, transport and miscellaneous goods and services subcategories. Further, year-on-year core inflation decreased to 4.1% in April 2021 from 4.3% in March 2021, while annual average core inflation increased marginally to 4.4% in April 2021 from 4.3% in March. The Colombo Stock Exchange says that trading will function as per regular trading hours, even on the days the country will be under strict travel restrictions. It means that trading at the Colombo Stock Exchange will be conducted between 11 a.m. to 2:30 p.m. on the 24th, 25th and 28th of May. And the market, however, will be closed on the 26th and 27th due to Vesak Poya holidays. Now, oil prices jumped 2% yesterday after 3 days of losses, driven higher as a storm formed in the Gulf of Mexico, but were on track for a weekly fall as investors braced for the return of Iranian crude supplies after officials said Iran and world powers made progress on a nuclear deal. Brent crude futures settled up $1.33 to $66.44 a barrel. US West Texas Intermediate, meanwhile, was at $63.54 a barrel, up $1.64. The US National Hurricane Center said yesterday that a weather system forming over the western Gulf of Mexico has a 40% chance of becoming a cyclone in the next 48 hours. Analysts say that this early storm prompted traders to buy crude ahead of the weekend in anticipation of potential production shut-ins. The gains were limited by the expectation that Iran could add 1 million or more barrels per day of oil production later this summer. The two contracts fell almost 3% on the week after Iran's president said that the United States was ready to lift sanctions on his country's oil, banking and shipping sectors. U.S. emergency firms, meanwhile, added oil and natural gas rigs for a fourth week in a row as higher oil prices prompt some drillers to return to the well pad. Barclays expects Brent and WTI oil prices to average $66 a barrel and $62 a barrel, respectively, this year. Tens of thousands of locals living in the Gaza Strip took to the streets to celebrate the end of 11 days of tit-for-tat trade fire as the Egyptian brokered ceasefire agreement came into effect between Israel and militant groups led by the Islamic resistance movement Hamas. They whistled, cheered and shouted to express their excitement. On Thursday, Hamas armed wing announced that it halted firing rockets in response to an Egyptian brokered ceasefire reached with Israel. Qatar, the United Nations and other countries joined the mediation. Over the past 11 days of tension between Israel and Hamas-led militant groups in the Gaza Strip, Israeli fighter jets carried out hundreds of airstrikes on the Gaza Strip and the militants fired hundreds of rockets at Israel. Israel said that 12 Israelis were killed and more than 100 injured by the rockets fired from the Gaza Strip at towns and cities in central and southern Israel. On Thursday, the health ministry in Gaza said that 232 Palestinians were killed, including 65 children, 39 women and 17 elderly, adding that 1,900 were injured in the last 11 days of Israeli-Palestinian tension in the Gaza Strip. Sri Lanka captain Kusal Janit Perera expects the team to make a difference on the field when they take on Bangladesh tomorrow in the first one-day international. Perera also says that Niroshan Dickwella will most likely miss out and he himself will occupy the wicketkeeper's gloves.
Sri Lanka and Bangladesh have locked horns in one-day international on 48 occasions, recording 39 wins. Bangladesh has only managed victory in 7 matches. With a 3-match series between the two sides set to get underway tomorrow in Dhaka, Sri Lanka captain Kusal Janit Perera gave an update on the team selection.
ගොඩාක් දුරට මම කඩුර රකින්න අවස්ථාවක් තියෙනවා දික්වැල කියන කෙනා හොඳටම ශ්‍රී ලංකාවේ තියෙනවා නමුත් අර ටීම් එකේ බැලන්ස් එක කියලා බලනකොට අපිට සමහර තීරණ ගන්න වෙනවා ගොඩාක් සංචිතය හදන්නේ ප්‍රධාන වේග පන්දු දෙන්නයි බෝලිං ඕල් රවුන්ඩර් කෙනෙක් තමයි හිතාගෙන ඉන්න ස්පිනර්ස්ලා දෙන්නෙක් එක්ක ලොකු බලාපොරොත්තුවක් තියෙනවා මගේ ෆීල්ඩින් වලින් ලොකු වෙනසක් කරන්න පුළුවන් ඒ කියන දේ ගොඩාක් ඔළුවේ තියෙනවා.
The first one-day international will get underway at 2:30 p.m. tomorrow.
And that's it from all of us here at First at 9. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.